Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am Jam. This is a show where we hang out and we talk about games, board games, card games, role-playing games, things of beauty, things that make us excited to be gamers, and hopefully things that make us a little bit better humans. Good morning to Grom and Padre and Cryptrite and Tink. Cryptrite, welcome to the on-time portion of our show. You are on time. I saw your question earlier. So I just got back from Gamehole Con. I figured to kind of ease myself back into behind the screen, we would talk about Gamehole Con. It was awesome. All right, see you guys later. No, it was great. I got to hang out with James. Hey, James. Good to see you. I was actually just about to talk to you. I got to hang out with James and the people at the Arkenforge booth. I got to hang out with John Doom, which is always a good time. I got to see Chris Valentine. I got to see Tracy Sizemore. I got to see Scott Woodward, and I got to hang out with Tink. It was a ton of fun. Yes, my dog Grom says that Scritchies make us better humans as well. I think it might be just a cat thing. But it was a great convention. I heard that so that while attendance was up, sales were down. So it was kind of interesting. Hey, Jason, good to see you this morning. So let's talk about the people I got to hang out with. First of all, I got to see DM James, who I adore hanging out with in person. He and Tink and I went out to dinner with John Doom and the crew of both Arkenforge and Troll Lord Games. Went to a great little dive bar that we found about 5 minutes from the convention center. Best cheese curds I've ever had in my life. And the only restaurant I've ever been to that when they said you could have a bacon cheeseburger, what they meant was bacon, cheese, and burger in equal proportions. This place put like 9 pieces of bacon on your bacon cheeseburger. It went right into your arteries. But yes, good connections were made because a little birdie told me that it is possible that we're going to see Knights of the Smith dinner table do a hit me with your one shot for Castles and Crusades. Wonderful. Always good to hang out with James. James and Tink and I played in a 10th level Castles and Crusades game, version of B1, with, I think we had 15 people around the table. Yeah, it was 15 people, and we got through the adventure in 4 hours. What was interesting to me is I really wanted to see if Castles and Crusades would work for my would work for my TPK game. 13 people. And yeah, it moved so smoothly. I also know that we confirmed that there was going to be a Jackals one hit me with your one shot in November. Timing TBD. Cripwright also got to play Castles and Crusades. He played in Jeremy's Into the Dark adventure, which is out of the Castles and Crusades starter box, which I reviewed. Great adventure. Chris said he had fun with it. And what was interesting is my one complaint about the Castles and Crusades starter box, where the art was a little dark. Jeremy was able to explain to me is it's just the first printing. Essentially, it was going to be full color, and at the last second, they had to go black and white. And so some of those color corrections weren't caught in time. And so future printings are apparently going to be better grayscaled, and that's awesome. I thought that was a ton of fun. Yes, these games were awesome. Chuck, who is one of the main, like if you follow the Troll Lord Games Twitch channel, they're always streaming, and Chuck is one of the main guys who does that. It was a ton of fun. I'm looking forward. I'm going to have Chuck on Beyond the Table. We're going to have some fun, hang out, and talk about Castles and Crusades. We got to play in Cripwright's Pharaohmas. So Pharaohmas is a setting that Cripwright is developing in hopes to kind of release it out into the wild as a sort of a living Greyhawk, if I am understanding it correctly. Cripwright, we should have you on Beyond the Table to talk about Pharaoh Mist at some point in November. I would love to do that. And yeah, it does feel like you get a lot done in the time span. It was interesting. Cripwright was like, "Yeah, I watch your streams all the time," and I was like, "Awesome! Troller Games deserves just all the love." So Cripwright's Pharaoh Mist is a living world campaign for Savage Pathfinder and Shadowdark, and Tink and I got to play in a Savage Pathfinder game where I correctly reinforced the worldview that if you roll high enough, the GM will let you get away with just about anything, including attempting to dominate an alpha eel and then giving an inspiring speech to that alpha eel, causing him to convert his current of eel-like companions into allies and having them go run away and avoid a fight. So thanks for that, Cripwright. That was a ton of fun. And we got to see John Doom, which I have been talking about before, just right now, John Doom. See you later, James. It was great to see you. My only regret from this year's Gamehole is that I did not get to spend more John Doom time. I did have an event seizure on Sunday, so I was kind of out of it for that last day, but always good to see the often imitated but never duplicated John Doom. Yes, I was declared King of the Eels, or Sir Paladin King of the Eels. 9 months later, a little basket of eel babies is, do they look eerily similar to me? So those were a ton of fun. Again, there's always great stuff at Gamehole Con to do. They opened up another building to host games. They opened up more parking. The dealer hall was great. We met several cool artists. I got to have a meeting with the Crit Hit Dice people, and there may be a Crit Hit Dice announcement in the near future. We got to see the guys at Chaosium, which is always fun. Free League was there. I love going to Gamehole Con. I feel like it is my favorite con to go to. And Tink was just showed me that I have done a Gamehole recap episode for the last 3 years. And actually that was right around when she started helping me do the cards, which it's just kind of cool. There's continuity. Episode 266, which is kind of amazing. I do need to try GaryCon. The Troller Games people sold it so hard, and that is the best convention. And it's in an all-inclusive resort where you don't have to leave the resort for anything. You just game and eat. There's restaurants on site. If not next year, 2027, definitely. Book-wise, I didn't actually come home with a lot. I bought a couple of the engineering books for Castles and Crusades, which I will do reviews on. I just finished reading them. They're little short 32 to 60-page books that have a bunch of random tables for creating dungeons, castles, and villages. I did get to go to Noble Knight Games, make the pilgrimage there, and came home with several Birthright and Dark Sun books to fill out my 2E collection. But speaking of Second Edition, the coolest thing for me was the very first thing I did when we got there. I went to a panel on nostalgia and gaming that was hosted by Joseph Goodman of Goodman Games, Dungeon Crawl Classics, and Zeb Cook, who, if you are unaware, Zeb Cook had wrote for TSR, was one of the main, wrote a bunch of stuff for first edition AD&D, and was the lead developer on second edition Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, John Doom, it does sound like very, very cool. Ooh. I'm actually going to Page in January. I just got my tickets for that this morning, Padre. It's in Philly. I don't know how close that is, but anyway, after the panel, so this is my second edition book that I learned to play the Dungeons and the Dragons with, and it is now. Let me just point out that this book is '95, so this book is 30 years old and holds up better than my 5-year-old 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons books. But this one now is signed by Mr. Zeb Cook himself and will never be used as a table copy ever again. So yeah, that was basically the Gamehole experience. I got to see people who I love to hang out with. Troller Games is always, those guys are just, they're spectacular. This year it was really just Dakota, Jeremy, and Chuck. I did miss seeing Steven. I did miss seeing Grace. Yeah, it was the nostalgia in gaming, John Doom. I will give you my thoughts on the panel afterwards. Oh yeah, nice of this. Actually, James is the one who invited me out there because he knows I'm a huge Birthright fan, and Ed Stark is there, not to be confused with Ned Stark. And don't confuse Birthright, a game setting about playing the regents of nations on a continent in civil war, all competing for the Iron Throne, with Game of Thrones, which is all about a bunch of rival kingdoms fighting for control. I wonder if George was a fan of Birthright back in the day. Interesting. Yes, Cripwright, that one sits at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th shelf up from the floor. So hopefully, knock on wood, that'll never happen. But yeah, if you haven't gone to Gamehole Con, I highly recommend it. There's a bunch of hotels within walking distance. It's in Madison in the fall. So most days were 70 in the highs. The leaves had just started to turn. That last day was it was wonderfully cold in the 50s. Tons of great people like Savage Worlds guys show up, Arkan Forge, Chaosium, Troll Lord Games, Free League, Pirate Borg. Arcane Library was there. John Doom was telling me that Kelsey Dione showed up at the on the last day to just kind of hang out. So lots of cool people from the Iconic crew show up. John Doom, DM James, myself, Tink. It's fantastic. Padre, I've never been to Origins, and I kind of always wanted to be. So we're going to see if Origins can't happen, maybe 2027. The other one I'm really interested in doing is ShireCon in Hartford, Connecticut. It's in September, and I'm thinking maybe next year I might try ShireCon. Yes, nope, never heard of Birthright of Thrones, Game of Birthright of Thrones, George's Lawyers. So, Cripwright, Gary Con is probably my number one convention that I want to try in the next 2 years. Anytime you're at Chupa, just let me know. I go there every year because it's just like a 3-hour drive for me straight south. Tink has joined me there as well. It's a fun convention. I've run Savage Worlds multiple times. It is a good Savage Worlds convention. Well, you got Pharaoh Mist, man. So now you have the bar for what Pharaoh Mist needs to make. Right? Gary Con looks so great. And then how many games did Chuck say they typically run over the weekend at Gary Con? It was over 100 games of Castles and Crusades. It's one of those games that just hits that sweet spot. 140 games this year at Gary Con over the 3 days. That's insane. That's right. Cripwright, you also happen to know somebody who has a publishing company who might be willing to talk Pharaoh Mist. So, yes, it's a huge C&C con, not to be confused with CNC cons. So, which is about fabrication. So until next time, that's it. Next week, we're actually going to do a Daggerheart review and get back to New Helios. Zeddy, I have not forgotten about you. And by the end of the year, all of that stuff we've been putting on and talking about on the forum is going to be in that Google Doc. I'm starting it November 1st, so wish me luck. Grom considered Genghis Con next year. Really? Genghis Con was one of those cons that I used to go to every year when I lived in Colorado, partially because when I worked at the game store, we sold off our used RPG stock at Genghis Con every year. It used to be a huge Arcanist convention, the Living World of Arcanist. I don't know if they're still doing that as a convention. I do know there was some craziness both with Savage Worlds and Dungeons and Dragons, and Genghis and Tacticon have kind of shrunk because of it, but I don't really know much more than that. So that's it for this week. Next week, again, like I said, we'll do I ran Daggerheart on Tuesday. I'll do a review of that. Back to New Helios, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I am JM, and this has been Behind the Screen. Yes, Spiel is on the bucket list to go to. It's larger than Gen Con, I hear. Also, next Wednesday, I will be having Beyond the Table with DM Blackwell, who wrote the Horde Wars D12 game, and looking forward to talking with him about that game and what's coming out next from his company. So we got a full week next week. I think we're also doing Exploring Glorantha. So I will see you all next week. This has been Behind the Screen, and I'll talk with you all later. Have a good one, everybody.